Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to another episode of Your Raw. I've been sent some images by Paul Baker, and it's one of his favourite images, and he's trusted me to give it my edit. So it's actually 14 images he's sent me, but it's of the one subject. And what we're going to do, we're going to actually use some of them and blend them together. It's a night shot, St Michael's Mount, and we're going to have a go at a little edit and put my spin on it and critique it a little bit as well. So okay, so we've got it in, opened it up in Lightroom. We've got all the images here in Lightroom. The first thing I'm going to do is just select, well, we'll select the first one, and we're just going to do one or two little tweaks and then add that to all the others. So I'm just going to drop the highlights so we don't get the moon blown out, and I'm going to up the shadows a little bit. Looks like we're going to have to, I'll tell you what, we'll drop the shadows but we'll up the exposure. Now what I'm looking for is a bit of detail in the island here on the causeway. Might just go a touch more, but what that'll do is sort of blow the moon out a little bit, but we can sort that out, it's no problem. So I think that is pretty much all I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is apply that to all of the images. So if I go to the last image, press return and select, and that'll select all of them. Synchronize, check all, and synchronize, and that would add all that to all the other images. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to now send them over to Lightroom, and then I'm going to choose which ones I want to use to actually edit this image. So we'll right click on any of the images and we're going to open as layers in Photoshop. Okay, so we've got them all in Photoshop, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look through each image and decide which ones I'm probably going to use. What I'm looking for is a nice moon. I'm looking for a nice moon, and I'm looking for the reflection in the causeway. So I'm probably not going to use that one. The first thing we will do is actually select them all. So we'll select the first one, press return, select the last one, and that'll select all of them. Go to edit or to align. So what we'll do then is we'll just crop the image. For some reason it's tipped it up all wonky, but we'll just crop the image anyway, so it doesn't matter. We'll have to crop it. So we'll just get it in the boundary, and then we'll just straighten that image up, and that will apply the crop to all the images. Okay, so let's scroll through the images and see which ones we think we're going to use. I don't think I'm going to use the first one. Don't think I'm going to use the second one because they're not particularly nice moon, and we've got this cloud behind. That one's a definite no, because we've got a silhouette of an hand. I think it must put his hand over the front of the lens there. Now we're talking. Probably not that one. Quite like that one. So that's so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove them layers, delete layers, so I don't use them. I definitely don't need them layers. So let's have a look at these. Yes, potentially use that one, potentially use that one, that one. I'm looking for that nice burst of moonlight, quite like that. And on these other ones we've got a nice reflection in the water there, so That's a nice one. And then from here onwards, it's not about the moon, it's about the reflections in this foreground, because we're getting some sort of, let me just show you. In the moon, we're getting some strange happenings on here, which I don't like. So we won't use that moon. So I think moon wise, I think we'll probably use the foreground of, I don't know what's happened with that one. Oh yeah, it's just how it's cropped. Okay, we'll get rid of that, we don't need that. I quite like this cobble area, so I don't want it all to be filled in with water. Even though I quite like the reflection on that there. So we'll see, we'll keep them two then. Don't need that one. Delete layer. So moon wise, let's just have another look at the moon. See, I actually like this one. I'm going to like working on this one because of the moon, and we've got a nice strip of light coming through. So, and as that one there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select that one. I'm going to apply a layer mask, and then we'll pick the brush tool in black, and then we'll just resize it slightly, and then we'll start painting in this foreground of the above layer. I know I've got a bit of clipping there, we can sort that out, that's no problem. Just re-add that. Oops. There we go. What I'm after is a nice beam of light coming through here. Let's just open another layer, and we'll apply a mask to that, and we'll do the same sort of thing and see what we can bring out of it. Probably not adding a lot to it, to be honest. Not adding a lot to it at all. I don't think that's really, no, don't like that one. So I'm trying to fill that little gap in there if I can. I wonder if we got there, there. Okay, so that one might work. So I'll select that one, put a layer mask in, and we'll just see if it just alters any. Just need to paint that out there. Just paint that in. That's a little bit better. I quite like that, because we've got a nice strip of light coming through. Yeah. Just make sure that's all exposed in that foreground there. There we go. So I think that's going to be the selection. They're going to be the images I'm going to use. So I'm just going to recrop that to get rid of that bit. There we go. Like so. Next thing I'm going to do is, my plan is to create more of this island. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to the sky and the island that I want to use, which is this one here. I'm going to do a quick select. Just want to sort of from horizon, so just somewhere there. Do that again there. So that's pretty much select the island and the sky. I'm going to make a copy of that. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to put that copy, that sky in. So now I've got a sky to use. So what I'm going to do now is, now I've got that sky, I'm going to go to free transform. If I hold down the return key and drag, it's going to make it keep the same ratios but make it slightly bigger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it over to the left slightly so it's more central to the image, only just a little bit, and I've made it slightly bigger. I'm going to apply that. So this is after the adjustment, that was before. So I've just made it a little bit more dominant in the image. What that's done is actually a bit like using a long lens from further back. It's compressed the image slightly. Now we have our images that we're going to use. First of all, I'm going to delete the images that I don't want. So I'm just going to select them, hold the control button down, select all the images that I don't need. Now I'm going to right click on them and delete layers, just so I'm not getting confused. Then I'm going to right click on there and merge visible, which is all of them, which I've now just got one layer. Then I'm going to duplicate that layer in case I mess up. So next thing I'm going to do is start tidying the image up a little bit, start removing some bits and bobs. So as these two, I think of oil rigs, but I'm going to get rid of those there. I'm going to get rid of one or two little defects here. Just tidying the image up, certainly in that foreground. There. See if that'll tidy up nice. I'm not going to get rid of all these. I assume it's some rocks or seaweed or something. It's just coming out the water there. But I want it cleaner. I think that'll probably do. Okay, so that again, that's after, that's before. And it's just cleaned it up nice actually. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just duplicate that layer, because I'm going to do something a little bit more drastic now. What I'm going to do is go to transform and warp. What's frustrating me is this line isn't quite square with the bottom of the image. So what I'm going to do, just drag it down to make it look a little bit squarer. And obviously we can change that if needs be. Okay, let's have a look at that. We'll just apply that. That looks just better to the eye to me. So that's afterwards, before. That is pretty much, we'll just have a little look, see if there's anything else I want to get rid of. Got a strange bit of light going on here. So I'm just going to try, even though we can't really see it, but I'm just going to try and make that look a little bit better. And I'm just using the spot heal tool. There we go. Zoom back out. Okay. Okay, that's the, I'm happy with that base image now. It's starting to come together. So let's send it back into Lightroom. Okay, so we're back into Lightroom and we've got the image. So what we're going to actually do to this image, we could warm it up slightly, which will make it more, the more we warm it up, the more sort of daylighty it will look. So we want to keep that night look. I want to try and just get the exposure down on that. So we could actually drop the lot and it will bring it in, which is not too bad actually. So I'll probably leave it around there. Do we want to bring any more detail in there? I'm not so sure actually. I think that's pretty good. What I will do while I'm here, I shall just do a bit of noise reduction. So bring up the luminosity. Don't like to bring it up any more than 30. It seems to send it all funny. So go about 20 and bring the contrast up. That'll smooth it out quite nice. And while we've got the island in view, I think what I'm going to do is we'll select brush and we will drop the exposure slightly. And then what I'm going to do is just create a little bit of contrast. So I'm going to just paint the top of these buildings just to give them a more where the shadows are. Just touching these, just where these shadows are touching there. There you go. And we'll just select another brush and we'll just do some highlights. Just there, we'll just, wherever the highlights are just touching the top of the trees, and all we're doing is giving it a little bit of contrast. I think that'll do. Just send that back out. So that's the island sort of tweaked. I want to get the sky a little bit darker, so we could actually select sky. I'm not sure if that's the way to do it though, because if I do, I think we're going to have an harsh line across here. The best way to do it is find out. So if we select sky, just drop probably about there anyway, so we've already doing it. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that actually. What we could do if we're worried about this harshness here is actually select an intersect mask, and we'll probably do a linear filter, and then if we just apply that to there, it will not be as harsh when we, it'd be more natural, or we could actually paint it in as well. Okay, just going to bring that up slightly. Okay, so that's that. What I'm going to do next is just add a bit of a radial filter. I'm just going to put it where that moonlight is. So I'm just going to put it in line with the moon and the light there. And I'm going to bring that down to there. And then I'm just going to drop the DA slightly and up the warmth, and it'll just give a slight glow. I'll just show you the difference. Just a slight difference there. That's also because we've brightened up the middle of the image, it's give it a little bit of a vignette. The next thing I want to do, I want to work on this cobble area a little bit. I want to make it more contrasty, and I'm going to do this by selecting a brush, dropping the exposure. I'm just going to paint around the back of these cobbles, just bringing out the shadows a little bit. So I'll just up it so you see where so we've just brought some shadows into play. Drop it down to about there, and then what I'm going to do is select another brush, and we're going to up the exposure slightly and give it a little bit of warmth, and we're just going to paint on the top of the cobbles. Like so. That should do it. And that, all that's done is bring that detail in them cobbles out a little bit more. The other thing I'm going to do is another brush, and I'm just going to select the texture brush. Texture brush is a bit like sharpening, and I'm just going to bring out the texture, not so much in the outer side, because I want his eye to be drawn into this area here. Just to sharpen these cobbles. I love the cobbles. Again, we'll just have a very, very minimal difference there, but it's enough. I'm now going to put a vignette in, a bigger vignette, so we'll select another radial filter, nice and big and long, and invert that. Just drop it down. Just look how it brings the light out in the middle there. If we drop it down even more, just to show, really does centre your eye into the image. I'm going to drop it down to about there. I'm going to also warm the colour of the reflections of the moonlight, and the easiest way to do that is go into saturation, because the only sort of warm colour is that moonlight, so we can easily just hang that up a bit just to bring that nice yellow glow. It will adjust these as well, that's fine, that's fine. Got a nice little reflection of the lights coming through here, which is quite nice. The only thing, I think I might just warm the image up just slightly. I mean, it's what people prefer. This is more of a preference. I think I'm going to leave it where it was actually. Do we want to up the shadows? I don't think so. It starts to look really, really fake. So we'll just drop that back down a bit to about, I think about there. So we can see the detail, but it's not too bad. Whites we can bring up to there, and blacks to about there, just to give it a bit more. We could actually up the contrast, but I think I'll leave that. And we could, if we de-haze it, we start to get all that sort of fake blue how we look. If we drop it, it's a more softer feel, which is quite nice. But I think, again, we'll stick that as it is. Vibrance, do we want to drop it down? I'm just going to drop it down real slightly. We'll just tick all the boxes, and I think that's the image completed. Yeah, that actually come out really nice. It's a beautiful shot, I must admit, and well done for Paul. One other thing I want to do before I forget, I just want to bring out this moon a little bit, so I'm going to select a bit of clarity. I'm just going to paint over the moon, because what it does is it'll make it look like it's more bursting. Let's just up the texture as well, it might actually help. Yeah, makes it look as if it's bursting more, giving that moon burst. Things I would have thought might work on the image, actually taking it from further back, it's been taken at 24mm, maybe taking some steps back if you can, and compressing that image. We could have potentially got lower down, but then we would lose this long part of the image here. So that might have worked, or even lift up and pointing down more, but then we'd put the moon in a strange position. It'd have been right up here. So there are things to think about. But yeah, if we'd have used a longer lens, it'd have compressed the image a little bit, which I think that's what I've actually tried to create. Maybe moving over to this left hand side, so we've got more of a curl into the island here. That might have worked, I'm not sure, because I've never been to the place. But yeah, that's pretty much it really. And level your tripod. That's pretty much it. I would have took a longer exposure to get this correctly exposed, so we could have used that for more detail, so we didn't get any degrading in this image here, this part of the image I should say. Even though it's pretty good, it's amazing what you can pull out with these cameras, to be honest. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for Paul for sending the images in. Thanks for the challenge, Paul. Something a little bit different. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you get something from these little Your Raw episodes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.